How do you deal with a coach that you respect, but you might think it's time to get a fresh face? No easy way to make this transition. What's the best way to deal with Mack Brown? I was surprised when on Monday when we opened up the phone lines for Monday Sound Off. I've been surprised by online how many people have made comments on things I've posted and things I've read. It's time for Mack Brown to go. The offense the passed him by. It's time for Mack Brown to go. He underperformed. They always have all this recruiting and what happens when you like the guy? When he's done right by you, when he's represented your program in a good way and he's earned a certain amount of legacy respect, but you think it's best for everyone if you just ended the run. And then yesterday we were talking about Mack, and I said, I'm not a fan of retirement tours. I think it was during Copper Drop. Dennis said, Mack Brown will announce that this is his final year within a month. And my gut reaction was, no, I'm not a fan of retirement tours. Don't ask for the applause. You know, if you want applause, go win games. But that got me thinking, all right, if it's not a retirement tour, what's the best way to deal with this? And I started poking around. Bomani Jones, who obviously has a history here in this market and has gone on to ESPN and hosts a very successful podcast now. Bomani Jones tweeted last week. I'm going to read it for you, at least the parts that I can say on radio. This is from Bomani. Reminder to you UNC fans, Mack Brown is from the "you're going to have to bleep can me" school. Meaning, now this is me just because I can't. You're going to have to fire me school. He's from the "you're going to have to fire me" school. When the time comes, it's going to be oogly, is what Bomani Jones says. Spelled oogly, Oogly. He's guessing, and again, Bomani has the history in the area, that Mack ain't walking into the athletic director's office after a tough game and saying, all right, how are we going to make this as easy as possible for the next guy? All right, how can I help? He's not doing that, according to Bomani. But I believe the fan base is ready for a fresh change based on everything I've said, everything I've heard. And the on-field results are starting to reflect it a little bit. Starting to might be putting it nicely. You want to respect Mack, so I think here's what you do first. If I'm Bubba Cunningham, and I've made the decision that next year we need a fresh eyes on the football team, I think you hint big. You hint big time. You ask him like, "Hey, you missing the grandkids this fall?" You hint with a sledgehammer. And if he doesn't get it, or if he does get it and he very defiantly is, grandkids are great. Looking forward to seeing them after a bowl game. Like if he's hitting that, you might just have to rip the Band-Aid off. I was trying to think of another kind of paralleled situation. I think Cutcliffe is actually similar. Different because it's Duke. Different because he had 3 straight losing seasons at the end. But as far as beloved, as far as people respected it, as far as had the eyes on the program, as far as all of that, David Cutcliffe's statement when he was leaving Duke. I have the first couple of lines here. This is from Cutcliffe, not the school. After some detailed and amiable discussions with Nina King, who was the athletic director at the time, we've mutually decided that it is the right time for change in the leadership of Duke football. Karen and I have loved our time in Durham. Duke University will always hold a special place in our hearts. That's just the first couple of lines. Whatever you have to do to get Mack to write that statement is the way to make it happen. He saves a little bit of face, gets to, this isn't a breakup. This is a mutual decision. And then the next thing you do, and I hope you've been doing it, is you refresh and relook at that list that you keep in the drawer in your desk with the lock on it that has the names of 5 people that you expect to call if you're looking for a head coach. And you look at how their seasons are going now, you look at where they are now, and you contact the carrier pigeon or however you handle your back deal communications to put a little birdie in their ear. I didn't think we'd get here this quickly. I had higher expectations for Mack Brown this year. I thought Mack would be at least successful enough and would pass the eye test enough as a coach to get to tell UNC when he was done. The reaction from the fans has quickly made me think this might not be as smooth as that sounds like. And it happens in sports all over the place. The examples of all the quarterbacks that are iconic with one franchise that finish somewhere else is insane. The fact that Brett Favre didn't retire a Packer, Montana didn't retire a Niner, the fact that Brady didn't retire a Pat, the part that Peyton didn't retire a Colt, like all of those are insane. So, and by the way, I would assume all of those guys would have wanted to retire and be a legend with their original team, but doesn't always work out that way. Mack Brown, I believed for a while, was going to be one of those guys that got to retire a legend on his own terms. Now it appears as if there's at least going to be some inside the facility conversations about how do we move forward here. And I don't think the move, and you see this sometimes, if you're unhappy with the head coach but you like him, you give the all right, you need new coordinators on both sides speech. We'll give you another chance, but you need a new, fresh everything.
Got to shuffle the deck.
But with Mack Brown, I don't think you're going to get interested, solid offensive and defensive coordinator candidates for the simple fact of what kind of security do I have here, right? Like even if things go well, you might retire, and then unless you hire someone as the head coach in waiting, which would be an interesting deal, I've just never been a real fan of that.
I remember when it was going into Matt Rule's third year with the Carolina Panthers, it was that same thing of like, well, why would we want to pay? Like, if I'm a coordinator, why would I want to come here for a potential lame duck coach?
Yep.
It's a legit concern.
Unless you bring in someone as the coach in waiting, where you're going to be the offensive coordinator, and whenever Mac decides, then you're taking over. I don't love hiring someone with that. If you have a coordinator who's a beast, who you love, who you want to take over, and he's saying, hey, I'm getting head coaching interviews, if you need to make him head coach in waiting to stay, I'm fine with that. I don't believe in hiring someone with that designation, because then it feels like you just brought the fox into the hen house for the head coach, if you know what I'm getting at there.